I think my message to people out there that are kind of considering what they do in their careers is really careers and life is really, really full of bumps. And I think you get, the best, most successful business people have lots of bumps along the way. So I think what kind of differentiates and defines people is the way that you respond to these bumps. Do you lie down and become a victim, or do you get yourself up, take the learning lessons, and then kind of go again? And I think if you have a successful career, you will definitely have to encounter bad moments, difficulties, things that you've got wrong. And it's all about really taking the learning and keeping on going. I'm David McMillan. I'm Chief Executive of esure. esure is one of the UK's leading digital insurers. We've got about 2.5 million customers. We turn over about $1 billion a year, and we've got about 2,000 people spread across Surrey, Glasgow and Manchester.
So not a small job then, being the chief exec.
It certainly keeps me awake at nights and keeps me out of trouble.
And a lot of responsibility as well, which, I can't really imagine. But obviously you weren't always, the chief exec of a business turning over £1 billion, which is a staggering number. Tell us about your background and, where you grew up and your story a little bit.
Well, I grew up in a small town in Scotland. I'm sure you've worked out that I'm Scottish by now. The town's called Arbroath. It's a fishing town. It's a relatively humble and tough upbringing. I grew up in a council estate. Money in my family was always pretty tight. I attended the local comprehensive school in Arbroath. It was called Arbroath High School. And I was very proud to be the first person from my family that went to university. So I studied at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh. I studied accountancy and computer science.
Last time we spoke, we had a long conversation. But one of the things that you did say is that, first time round, even though you got to uni, you said, you might have had a bit too much fun. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Look, it's fair to say I've never been a straight A student, and I certainly wasn't a straight A student at university. I probably did indulge a bit too much in some of the things that students do. So I failed my undergraduate degree, and I ended up having to do research, and this was super embarrassing. I'd managed to land myself a really good job in the finance function of Hewlett-Packard, which is a great global company. And I unfortunately had to go in and tell the boss I'd be joining 3 or 4 months late because I'd failed my exam. So I was really, really determined I wasn't going to put myself through that ever again. And I then went on to do professional accounting exams when I was at Hewlett-Packard, and I went on to really pass those in record time. I passed them all in about 18 months and with really, really good grades. So I think my message to people out there that are kind of considering what they do in their careers is really careers and life is really, really full of bumps. And I think you get, the best, most successful business people have lots of bumps along the way. So I think what kind of differentiates and defines people is the way that you respond to these bumps. Do you lie down and become a victim, or do you get yourself up, take the learning lessons, and then kind of go again? And I think if you have a successful career, you will definitely have to encounter bad moments, difficulties, things that you've got wrong. And it's all about really taking the learning and keeping on going.
The misconception sometimes that we've spoken about, and I've spoken about with others, is that people who are in senior positions, CEOs generally, quite often there's this idea that they come from a privileged background and were given opportunities to step into the corporate world because they had family connections and things like that. And I know, when we've spoken, you've talked about obviously your background, but other CEOs running big businesses who also have different backgrounds, and it's not always people that there are a lot of people who are from privileged backgrounds in that position, but it's not always. And in fact, there's something maybe that background, being from an underrepresented background, gives you when you think about kind of striving in your career. So do you have any kind of advice for young people who've maybe had that misperception, or any other examples or stories?
I was very fortunate in life that my parents did not set any boundaries in terms of their expectation for me. They were very proud of what I managed to achieve, and they were very ambitious for me in a very, very nice way. Equally, I encountered people along the way who said, "David, you're never going to be any good at school. You're not going to go anywhere, etc., etc." I ended up going on and doing what I've done. I remember a coach at football telling me I was useless and I would never make anything as a footballer. I ended up playing Scottish schoolboys football when I was 18. So I think there'll always be people that will tell you can't do things. I would anchor on the fact that possibilities are limitless, no matter where you come from, and really just focus on trying to drive your own agenda forward. In business and life, there are people that are successful from many, many different backgrounds, and that's it's one of the wonderful things about life. I always remember an early boss of mine when I went into management consultancy. We were starting to do quite a lot of recruitment, and I said to him, "So you've been recruiting for ages. What do you look for when you're recruiting?" And he said, "PAI: personality, appetite, and intellect." So it's a consulting accounting thing. So intellect and brains were important, but we put as much emphasis on people with personality that could engage with others. And also appetite, ambition, hustle was all really, really important. Those three things have really stuck with me in life. And I do tend to, when I'm recruiting, I do look for those three things. Are people smart? Are they really personable? Can they get on with people? And have they got a bit of kind of drive and ambition? And when things don't go their way, will they find ways to get back on the horse and go again?
Thinking about young people now, maybe there's a young person who's from the same community that you grew up in, and maybe even in the same area, and think about you're speaking to him and thinking about what his mindset might be. What would your final kind of piece of advice or wisdom be for kind of getting into the right mindset for being successful in the future?
Do not be limited in your ambition and what you can do with your life. The human beings are wonderfully resourceful and capable. So don't, have real belief and just understand, as I said earlier, it's not a straight path. There will definitely be bumps in the way, and the more ambitious you are, the more you put yourself out of your comfort zone, the more bumps will actually come your way. And just recognize that's a part of life. And it's really, for me, it's really about how you respond to these and drive on and pivot.